I thought this part was going to be easy, but it was hard. It was so tough. I had written a whole book, but I had no interest in learning how to write a script. That was a completely different format. It had taken me a year and a half to write The Smart Money Woman, and it took me another year and a half to write The Smart Money Tribe, my second book. And I was in the middle of writing that when I was trying to executive produce this TV series. So yeah, I started my quest for scriptwriters. So there are two writers on this production, Jola Ayeye and Pearl Osibo. And they both came at different times in the development of the show. Jola was first. So I know Jola because she went to university in Durham with my little sister Evie. And of course, she's a popular Twitter warrior, inside joke. I'd never read anything that she had written, but I'd read her tweets. I knew she was witty. I love her podcast. So I was very excited to work with her because I thought, you know what, this is someone that I love the way that she thinks, and I think she'll be able to help me convert this book into a script. So it was a leap of faith for both of us because obviously I'd never done this production stuff before. Jola had never actually written a script before at the time, but she was interested in, script writing. This was something that she wanted to do. So we were excited, but it was really like a leap of faith that entailed Jola coming to my house a few times a month, and we would basically like brainstorm ideas. What is going to stay? What is going to go? What do we want in each episode? That sort of thing. I had never written a book before. It was my first published work. By the time I was done with that process, I could see all the flaws, in the book. Even though people loved the book so much, I could see all the flaws. Like things like character development. Zuri, the focus was on Zuri primarily. All the other characters were kind of like an afterthought when I was writing the first book. And I had to basically like go back and write them in my second or third draft. After I'd done that with the book, it was still, imperfect. But when you're making a movie and you're trying to script it, I could kind of see all those flaws come to light because at that point we still had a very big main character, but we had to develop Ladun, Lara, Adeswa, and it was interesting. But luckily, I was writing my second book, The Small Money Tribe, so we had a lot of material to sort of like draw from that. So we did all the back and forth, and at some point we had a draft. And because I'm the feedback queen, I sent it out to a few people that I trusted, that worked in film. So Kemi Adetiba, Tola Odunsi, gave it to them to read and tell me what they thought. And they were like, you know what? It's good. There's something here. There's meat here, but you need to make it more compelling. So at this point, Jola is tired of my shit and I didn't want to, keep stressing her. So I engaged a second writer because at this point I felt like we needed a second set of eyes. Yes, Jola for the fresh take and all of that, but it'll be interesting to get someone that's more seasoned to give us a perspective that we may not have seen. So Pearl Osibo had come up in conversation a few times. So I finally called her after speaking to a bunch of people, and she first, the shakara that she did for me, get part two. She first was like, I'm in a writer's conference. I don't have time to talk right now. Maybe I can talk to you next week. I was like, please, time is of the essence. This is not a project that we can do, forever. But she was like, yeah, I don't even know if I want to do it or not, but let's speak, some other time. I call her again. Then she says, you know what? I've never heard of this book before. Please, can you just send me the book? Let me read it and see if this is a project that I'm interested in being part of. I'm rolling my eyes because I was like, look at this one. You don't know that you're going to work with me by hook or by crook. You're just doing shakara for yourself. Anyway, about a week later, after she had read the book, she comes to my house. She falls in love with me. And at this point is when Pearl's spirit angel should have been telling her, you have entered one chance. Because after that, it was 3-hour conversations at 2 a.m. in the morning, trying to perfect the script, changing things, doing the most. We basically bonded. We had a solid friendship by the time we were done with that script. So we got to a point where I thought, the script is ready. It's definitely ready. We're like on the 1,000th draft, right? So Lala Akindoju, who was in the show and also was producing as well, organized this table read with some of her actor friends so that we could hear, what the dialogue sounded like out loud. So they're reading it, we're all listening. And then, there's something about people reading the script out loud that shows you where the gaps are. And some of the dialogue sounded a bit wonky, and it was very clear that we needed to go back and work on the script. So, because I knew everyone was tired at this point and they just wanted to be done with this project, it was amazing. So we basically were in this beautiful location, in this house, waking up and writing every single day. Just reading out the script, seeing what we liked, what we didn't like, what we needed to do, how we needed to develop the characters. See, it sounds like fun, but it was a lot of work. It meant waking up at like maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock every morning. And I promise you, we were going to bed at like 5 a.m. in the morning. It was tough. It was me, Pearl, and Tunu. So Tunu, I met first when I was doing the PR for my book launch, or for my book, The Smart Money Woman. So Tunu worked for LSF PR, and she was basically like my account manager. So I knew she was very organized. I knew that she was interested in television, or interested in writing for television. So I made her the story editor. Again, she had never done this before, but she was giving us a fresh perspective in terms of, this story doesn't work, this feels false, this, I think could be in another episode, that sort of thing. So she was amazing. So it's me, her, Pearl, on this writer's retreat, like just basically going through every single aspect of the script. Guys, I'm not even ashamed to say that I had many meltdowns during this process, because at one point I'm reading like an episode, I think it was episode 9 at the time, and I just basically freak out because I'm like, what rubbish is this? This is not, like, I hate everything in this episode. This is nonsense. Like, we have to start from scratch and we have to be done with this script before we leave this place. How are we going to write an entire episode anyway? So the two people that I'm dealing with are very unemotional beings. So they were like looking at me like, really? I said, maybe you should take a step outside. Take a step outside, take a deep breath, and then come back and talk to us, because this meltdown thing that you're doing, it's not going to work. It's not working for us. We're not in the mood. It was so funny, but I literally went outside to the garden, to the lake, and I was doing my wusa, and then I called Ini. And we're talking on the phone for like an hour, and we basically like work out the nitty-gritty of what was going to happen in that episode, because I was very hands-on and I wanted my cast to sort of be involved in the process as well. And Ini had some concerns that, Tammy wasn't showing That was a very collaborative process. The episode is one of my favorites at this point. Anyway, so we leave Lakwe Lakes. We have a script that is decent and we're happy with, and we know that we're ready to shoot. But I kid you not, this was not the end of the scripting process. I still found myself on set, editing things out, changing, stuff, because a lot of the financial jargon we found was too heavy for the actors, and it just came out sounding a little false. And sometimes people are like, oh God, this dialogue is long. So on set, we're just like rubbish and we don't know what we're talking about. So there was a lot of that. And then Bumi, who was director on the Smart Money Woman, the writing, because a few days before we were supposed to start production, I think Bumi wrote in like 2 new scenes in episode 1 because she felt like it needed, some zhuzh. So what did I take away from this process? 1, the script is the most important part of making a film, because once you miss it at that stage, everything kind of falls apart. 2, trying to marry a story with financial jargon and make it, make that financial literacy point is a completely different art in and of itself. So it was extremely important because the writer may not know all the personal finance stuff or financial literacy stuff that I want to make sure is out there, and we need to be able to infuse it in the story in a way that makes sense, and that was tough. So that's one thing. And another thing I think that people can take away from this is going through this process, I felt like scriptwriters do not get enough credit. They really don't, for the amount of work that they do and how integral they are to the process. I'm just putting out there, scriptwriters need to be making more money. This is a story about audacity. This is a story about African ambition. This is a story about a girl who wrote a book, took it across Africa on a Pan-African book tour, and turned it into a TV series. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Reese, the executive producer of a Netflix show.